Okay, finally, the kick drum. This one here is a 22 inch. And really the same concept as tuning your toms applies to your bass drum with a couple variations depending on your style. Same thing, your batter is more your attack and resonant side of your head. That back head is meant for sustain. But for me personally, I don't tune the back head of my bass drum very high at all. I almost leave it at wrinkle stage where you almost see the head wrinkling adjacent to each lug. And I've found the best way to get a fat sounding kick drum that really pushes the sound is to tune it on the front side and the batter side to the lowest note possible and then inch it back 1/8 of an inch. And that just gives you that low thud kick that you're looking for from a bass drum. Then again, I know drummers who tune them rather high, sometimes higher than even their floor toms. But for the most part, by and large, drummers these days are tuning their kicks down fairly low and really detuning that back resonant side head. And the other aspects of the kick drum, I don't cut a hole in my resonant side of my head. I leave it closed, and I use a small blanket inside the drum. I find that I can mic it just as well from the outside as the inside. If you're in the studio, I think that most engineers want a little 8-inch hole to stick microphones in. But for the most part, I've been able to mic outside with my synthesizer microphone or what have you without having a hole. I'm using an Evans EQ4 head for my batter side here, and that's built for punch and kick. There's other Evans and Remo heads that have padding built into the head itself, so you don't really need a blanket. Choose the one that works best for you. And I tend to put a little glue hole right on the center of the head where the mallet hits the head. They sell these little sticky pads that are round that protect that part of the head from getting too indented. So I'll be doing that after when I get my kick pedal on. But for now, I'm just going to tune it up just like anything else. Here I'll just do 2 turns, 1, 2, across, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1. Did I get them all? Sometimes you gotta go and check to make sure you got them all. They're all snug. You don't want to leave any undone. All right. Now let's see. The next thing I probably will look for. And the one thing I forgot to tell you is in seating the head, you also seat a bass drum head by just pushing down on it like that, pretty hard. I've seen drummers actually stand on their head to try to seat it, and I wouldn't recommend that at home, but I've seen people try to do that. I don't think you need to do it. I just use 2 fists and bring it in. I seem like I'm having a little problem getting this part seated. It seems like this rim is riding up this side of the head and not over here. So you do run into that, and that's probably my bad for not checking the spacing of your rim around the head, that it's equal all the way around before you lock down your lugs. So I'm going to go back, detune, get the head back down correctly, and then bring it back down to 2 turns in each lug, and then we'll see how it sounds. I'm going to turn it up on its side and put a pedal on and give it a kick, and you tell me. I've finished, I had a problem seating this head, so I actually had to take all the lugs off and put the rim back on. The tricky thing with the bass drum rim, unlike some of your smaller rims, is you really have to go diagonally across when you're clamping your rim down, and then the other way. Um, Otherwise, there'll be some unevenness, and it has a tendency, because it's so there's so much diameter to your bass drum rim, that the hoop sometimes can overlap a head on one side, and that obviously will lead to natural seating problems. So you need to look out for that. So I fixed that, and then I detuned. I just brought these back 1/8 of an inch down from what I had my tone set at when I went around to check the pitch. Again, my back head, the resonant head, is almost at a wrinkle stage, so there isn't much resonance there at all. But it's such a big drum, it has natural overtones built into it. So I'll just give it a kick, and this is pretty much what I go for a punch. Sounds pretty good to me. I think I'll live with it, and I guess, again, I have a little blanket in there as well. Thank you for staying tuned in with me. I know this is a longer video concerning tuning drums. Hopefully you'll read my blog post, and like I said earlier, there's so many different ways to tune drums that it would be great if you shared your own insights and your own tips on tuning drums, because I'm sure there's a lot of methods that are different from mine. Have fun with it, experiment, and keep drumming.